Right then, hello there everybody, Adam Clery from FourFourTwo, and I am assured that had I just worked a little bit harder in life, I could have got a normal person job, but instead, I now have to stand here and talk about that England performance for like 15 minutes. But that's okay, I'm not complaining, I'm not moaning, I'm not looking for any sympathy, because I actually thought that England in that game looked as dangerous, as threatening, as just attacking, as brilliant as they've looked all tournament. For precisely 90 seconds. Alright, so everyone was like, Gareth, please change the system. And Gareth, he did change the system. England went back to this 4-3-3 that we saw them doing in qualifying. Declan Rice was now the lone six. Conor Gallagher, as the newspapers reported, he was in this sort of wide 8 role. And Jude Bellingham, he was just in everybody's way. And we'll really get into the weeds of all this as the video goes on, but I'm going to show you the average positions across the course of that game. And you can see there's a bit more of a midfield balance. Nobody feels stuck in any particular position. But once again, the number 10 and the number 11 are right on top of each other. Jude Bellingham was way better set up in this system, but still found himself getting his wires crossed with Phil Foden. Which is incredibly annoying and incredibly stupid, because the reason you would switch to a 4-3-3 like this and bring Conor Gallagher in is to do two things. Reason number one, as we've literally just said, is you take Jude Bellingham out of this number 10 position and you put him in the 8. You should theoretically keep him out of Phil Foden's way. And reason number two is by putting Conor Gallagher in this midfield with all his legs and his running and his enthusiasm, you should theoretically stop Declan Rice getting repeatedly pulled out of position, which is something we highlighted frequently in that Denmark game. So let's look at reason number one, first of all, the Bellingham-Foden situation. You can see from Phil Foden's heat map, this is actually a much better game for him. Yes, he's receiving wide left, but he's getting involved in that number 10 area way more. He's popping up in his favoured position, which is this right-hand half space. And even, oh my God, it's Christmas, he's getting on the overlap occasionally, he's finding better runs, and he's making more use of that left space. But it did absolutely not work for Jude Bellingham, because the hope is when you play him as this number 8, then he should be able to sort of take the ball in slightly wider positions, but move up this channel, and then go from there into the 10 area when it is free and Foden is stretching the defence. But if we look at his heat map, that's not the story at all. He spent most of the game just stuck in this sort of deep left-hand position, never really able to get into the box, never really able to drop and help dictate the play. He really did feel, and this is astonishing given how good he is, like a complete spare part in this system. Like, just take a look at his completed passes from that game. Like, there are so many of them just concentrated way out here on the left where he's no threat whatsoever. And even on the rare occasions he does manage to get into a dangerous position, these are all backwards. There's nothing with any incision. Like here, fun game, win £100. Show me anything Jude Bellingham did forwards in that final third. Go on, take a real long hard look. There's some cash to be won. Anybody? Well, sorry, it was actually a trick question, because these are all his passes into the final third. They're red because not a single one of them came off. I think what's particularly frustrating about this Bellingham performance is that I actually think that left-sided 8 position is the best use of him. Like, you saw him at the last World Cup. It worked really well because you had Marcus Rashford here, who makes direct runs at the defenders, creating pockets of space for him to get into here. And you've got Luke Shaw, a naturally left-footed left-back, who makes overlapping runs, again creating bits of space for him. And then from there, he sort of floats into this sort of 10 position. He can get near the centre forward, he fills the Rashford spot, he fills the Shaw spot. It all kind of works in synergy, but you don't get any of that with Phil Foden or Kieran Trippier, because Trippier won't get on the overlap because he's got no left foot, and Foden won't drive into the box at the defenders here. He wants to be right there where Bellingham is. Like, it's actually kind of depressing to watch. Like, England are under no pressure here whatsoever. There's nobody going out to the player with the ball. Why do you feel the need to go short to receive this? You're not helping in any way, shape or form. Go somewhere where if they can get a ball between a line, then you can do some damage. Something, in my opinion, is not quite right with Jude Bellingham, but we will get to that at the end of the video. All right, so big change that Gareth Southgate made. Number one, the whole Foden-Bellingham readjustment. I would say that's a mixed bag. Foden had a much better game in a 4-3-3, but Bellingham had a much worse one, so we'll call that like even. So change number two was moving to this 3 system and putting Gallagher in instead of Trent Alexander-Arnold, and part of that was to address Declan Rice's struggles in the Denmark game, which again we did go into severe detail with in that video. So yes, Declan Rice, wonderful, wonderful player. I thought he should have got PFA Player of the Year. You put him in one of these 8 roles, he'll make things absolutely sing, but you put him in as a number 6, either with somebody else or as the lone one, and he looks like a child in a shopping centre who does not know where its parents are. And the problem he has is that he is very neat and he is very tidy and he retains possession well and he takes it off the defence really well, but you need, at any level of football, a pass that will break a line. Whether that's pressure that's being applied high up the pitch or deep defences, whatever it is, you need to be able to take players out of the game if you are a number 6. And we'll show you his pass map from this game. It genuinely looks like I have faked this just to prove a point. Every single pass in this central area is almost perfectly horizontal. Like, that is absolutely staggering to look at. Like, if these passes were real and you could prop them upright, you could climb them like a ladder. And I might be spotting 1 or 2 here that look fairly dangerous, like this one in particular. That's quite long from deep into the box, but that's a pretty speculative hoof to Harry Kane towards the end of the match. It's not anything particularly clever. Like, just to show you what a lone number 6 should be doing in a system like this, I'm going to swap this for Rodri's pass map. Like, this is when they were playing against Italy, so for portions of the game he was getting pressed really aggressively. For portions of the game they had Italy penned in. And yes, there is a lot of neat and tidy side-to-side stuff, but just look at the horizontal lines in this. Look at his ability to play it through either an attacking line or a midfield line to take players out of the game. I actually felt pretty bad for him because the one really good pass like that he did do in the game led to the goal, which never happened, which is quite unlucky as things go. But anyway, I'm not going to labour the point. We've talked about Declan Rice not playing the ball forward. You'd know about all that right now, so he needs some help in the centre of midfield with another passer. And Conor Gallagher was effectively his partner in this role. Like, they've moved away from the 4-2-3-1, so Gallagher's not playing necessarily as a pivot. He is definitely more on that side and more advanced than Rice, who I've just knocked over there. His job was to cover all this ground here. If Saka makes runs, he can get round the outside of him. If Walker pushes all the way up, he can cover him behind so they're not exposed. He can, if needs be, get into these sort of areas to help Harry Kane. His energy is why he was there, but Rice needed help with the passing. So did he do that? Well, this is all his passes in the first 45 minutes, and that is a real brother of a graph. So the solution at half-time seemed fairly obvious. You've got to get Conor Gallagher off and you've got to put Adam Wharton in there because he's a much better passer of the ball. But instead we got Kobbie Mainoo, who is at least, more in that mould than Conor Gallagher is. He comes on and this is his pass map in the second half, and you can just see immediately with the eyes that are in your head that is way more effective, that is way more on the ball than Gallagher was being. You can see he's receiving it in better areas, he's playing it into better areas, he's got something like this in his locker, which Conor Gallagher absolutely does not. It was allowing England to enjoy better possession than they were enjoying in the first half, but still it lacked that cutting edge. But as I said at the very start of the video, England were brilliant in this match for roughly 90 seconds, and that is because of one substitution that came very late in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Michael Gordon. He basically did 2 things in this game, and they weren't just things that England hadn't done in this game up until this point, they're things England hadn't done in this tournament up until this point. His first contribution was to basically kick the ball out of play, which obviously sounds bad, but it gave the defender a huge scare. Do you remember the clip before when Jude Bellingham was unnecessarily dropping deep to receive the ball? Gordon is doing that here, but he's doing it with a purpose and a plan. He's screaming for it while he's unmarked, but he comes even deeper still to pull the defender out of his line to try and put a bit of pressure on him. Then, as soon as he receives it, he turns straight away, he knocks it past him into the space he has created, and if he just angled that slightly better to keep it in play, he would have been in behind immediately. And the thing is, even just from doing that, that is the first time that fullback had really been tested, really been stretched in the entire game. And the next time he receives the ball, you can see that's playing on his mind. He wants to get tight to him, but he also doesn't want to give him the ability to run in behind, so he gets a little bit of cover from one of his teammates. This, in turn, create space here instead. And because Gordon is going to drive at these players the way no other England player had been doing, he goes, okay, well, I'll take that space instead. He cuts into the centre of the pitch, he draws another player towards him, and by doing that, Mainoo is able to make this run. And all of a sudden, just like that, England have ripped Slovenia open. All it's taken is one on-the-ball run and one off-the-ball run. The pass from Gordon is excellent, but that is something an England international should always be able to do. The little flick is very clever, but again, that's meant to be our level. Harry Kane does the right thing, laying it off for Palmer, and he's just maybe about 5 or 10 yards away from where he would really need to be to get to that chance quick enough. But regardless, it was probably the best move England have executed in the whole tournament. For 90 seconds in this match, the 90 seconds Anthony Gordon was able to contribute, they all of a sudden looked scary. And we mentioned Cole Palmer there. He was also excellent when he came on, stretching the defenders, doing things that 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗃 wasn't doing. Mainoo, we've already talked about, was doing things England's midfield has not been doing. And the three of them have to start the next game. And that might sound really dramatic and reactionary and knee-jerk, but there's actually some method to this, not just the sort of 90-second little bit of link-up they all did here. We said there's clearly something not quite right with Jude Bellingham, but he's not been England's only massive underperformer. Harry Kane's also had a really weird tournament, but 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗃 has struggled to get involved. Declan Rice looks completely at sea, and there may be a very good reason for that. All four of these players in particular, you can see here, have played an insane amount of minutes since the start of last season. They were involved in pretty much every single competition towards its latter stages. They were mainstays for their club sides, almost never ever getting a rest, and all four of them look completely shagged. And then you compare that to Palmer's minutes, to Gordon's minutes, to Mainoo's minutes, and it's not dramatically lower by any stretch of the imagination, but the one thing these players feel like they've had that the others haven't is a bit of a break since the end of the season. And I mean, at the very least, the three of them haven't just played 3 full games of this European Championships in stifling heat in Germany, and it shows. So England have still got massive problems going into the knockout stages. I don't think there's any sort of debate about that, but they do have solutions, and several of them available to them if they just go and take them. And you might think this is like clutching at straws, but there are actually some fairly big positives to take from that group stage performance. And with a straight face, I'll try and explain them. So, to be blunt, no team in this tournament right now looks particularly defensively sound. Portugal have been pretty good, but they gave up some massive chances against the Czechs. Germany were excellent and tight and compact in their first 2 games, and then got a real test against Switzerland and started to fall apart at the seams a bit. Spain's entire defensive structure is just based on running really fast at loose balls, because they're getting bullied off them if they can't win that race. The Belgians are being the Belgians. They are rioting on the streets of France, and Italy should almost certainly be out of this tournament. But England, for all you may have fallen asleep in the last 2 games at some point, have actually been rock solid at the back. They have, and I know a lot of people don't care about XG, we do need to clarify that, but just go with me on this, they have the lowest XG per 90 minutes in the tournament so far. They're giving up 0.36 per match, which means all the chances in all 3 of those games have equated for each team to be worth 1/3 of a goal. And while the numbers are way less impressive for the total number of shots and the total number of shots on target they've given up, teams are getting a lot of chances against them. The average distance of all those chances against England is the highest. Like, the average chance they're giving up is from about 22 yards. And yes, alright, that might not inspire you with confidence in a tournament full of shit pingers and piss missiles, but that is still not a reliable way to be scoring goals against any team. Like, they're not giving teams good chances. And given one of the major concerns about this England side going into it was that all of a sudden they look way more open and were giving too many chances away, if they can just make it click in that final third the way they did in the last couple of seconds, it is already set at the back. They might be okay. Like, it's been said by far more intelligent analysts than me that the team that normally goes far in these tournaments is the one with the best defence, and coming out of the group stages, undeniably, even though it doesn't look like it, England probably have had the best defence. Like, that against Slovenia was crap, but can you remember them having a sniff? No, you can't. So there you go. Somehow I managed to take that and end the whole thing on a positive, even though Jude Bellingham looks like he needs to sleep for 2 weeks in England still. Can't score a goal! Anyway, let me know your opinions of all of this in the comments below. It was a lot of fun reading the ones after the Denmark game, so please do give us thoughts, feelings, opinions, poetry, song, lyric, verse, whatever you've got. We would like to see it down there. Elsewhere, you get me on all of the socials at Adam Clery, Clery. The 442 socials are in the corner of the video. The latest issue of the magazine. Can I have an issue of the magazine, please? Thank you very much. Stars of Euro 2024. That's available now from all good retailers and the terrible ones as well. And until whoever it is we play in the knockout stages, this has been 442. I've been Adam Clery, and maybe it's coming home. Maybe. Bye. Thanks for that.